Hello everyone, welcome to the first instalment of Mr. Reviews Cards for Beginners. Bollocks. Camera problems guys, camera problems, sorry about that. Okay, try again. Sorry for the crotch shot, but I'm still trying to work out where the best angle for the camera is. So, Cards for Beginners. This is really more for, well, just as much my benefit as anybody else that might watch this. It's going to chart my hopeful progress into being, or going from a pretty rubbish person with cards to somebody maybe a bit less rubbish at some point in the future. I'm going to talk a couple of things on today. One is going to be about just your hands and what your hands feel like before you use the cards. I'm going to give you a couple of the people I subscribe to, give you their channels and a quick rundown, and then towards the end just 3 or 4 little card handlings that I'm sort of learning and starting to use at the moment. So first things first, this is vitally important. Always use clean hands whenever you're using your playing cards, and just because you haven't been eating, you know, a sandwich or something else, chocolate bar, candy bar if you're American, it doesn't mean your hands are going to be clean. So it's always best just to give them a wipe down, just so you're not going to transfer anything onto your cards. But it will also initially let your hands have that little bit of moisture. Now I do have a hand dryness problem, where your skin doesn't feel, at the moment I'm relatively warm, so my skin feels a little bit moist, a little bit clammy. Normally they're not like that, particularly if I'm at work. And I didn't realise literally until about a week ago, even doing things like dribbles, card springs, how important it was to have dry hands. It's all about control. If your fingers are a little bit slippy, you're not going to get the control that you want. This is a relatively brand new deck, so there's not much given it at the moment. But for a long time, this is what my springs are like, because I just thought I wasn't very good at card springs. And then I'll try and do a thumb one, which I've only recently tried to start doing. But as you can see, there's literally no control whatsoever. Leave that one. So, hand dryness is a big factor. What do you do to sort it out? I've seen a couple of videos. One guy, I'll talk about them in a minute, he recommended something called, I think it's golden lotion. Can't get that in the UK. What I can get in the UK is this Sort Quick. You can see that. I've had this tub for about 7.5 months, and I bought it so I could do things like, you know, double lifts, variety of card sleights, or practice them anyway, because my hands were just sliding off them. You can see there's quite a bit left. You only need a little bit. Try that thumb one again. You watch, it's not going to work now. Well, there you go. Yeah, as you can see straight away, I've already got, even though I can't catch them, a lot more control on that thumb, just because it's a little bit more moist than it was before. These cards, if cheeky one got in there, these cards, if you're wondering, are just some Maverick cards, USPCC, but they're made in China, and you can really tell. Plastic coated, they don't fan, can't really do a huge amount with them, but £1.50 or so per deck, dirt cheap. So I would recommend getting something like this, and that's they fan, not very well at all, because they're so cheap. If you do damage some, it's not really going to matter too much. I think I bought 4 decks for £6, and initially I thought, well, they dribble quite nicely, but that's about all that you can do with them. For the most part today, I'm going to use good old bikes. Not my favourite decks, but I've had this deck now. I've been using this deck for a few months. You can see the edges are still starting to get a bit dirty, but not as bad as they could be. And I've been trying to do a lot more dribbles recently, and a lot more card springs. Now, I'll just quickly go and run through some of the people I subscribe to, and you can obviously check them out as well if you don't already. First person I ever subscribed to was Sankeymagic, and I happened upon his video when he did the full pen and teller, and then I realised there was a tutorial for it. I never even realised there were tutorials for magic tricks, but then again I wasn't into card tricks or anything, at least not learning them. I've always had an interest in them back in the day. Paul Daniels on TV on a Saturday night, all that kind of stuff. David Blaine obviously, in the early 2000s, etc. And a couple of others. But yeah, Sankeymagic, and then went on to 52 cards, and then Mismag. Fernando P1, phenomenal library of information from that guy. He's been doing it for about 11-12 years, I think. But if I was just a quarter as good as he is, I'd be very happy. Disturbed Reality, the Russain Genius, Scam School, Chris Ramsay, Xavier Spade. So those are the most viewed people that I watch, and there's huge resources there for people who are interested. And then recently, last couple of weeks, I stumbled upon a guy called Jaspas deck. Now I've never been into Cardistry because I just thought it was all all this kind of stuff, and it really didn't interest me at all. Happened upon his site by accident. It's called the Cardistry of Jaspas deck, and his sister channel, the School of Cardistry. Again, very good resource for learning a variety of handling techniques with cardistry in mind. And also there's Dan and Dave. Now, Dan and Dave don't do a huge amount of tutorials. They'll show you their tricks or their handlings, and obviously you've then got to buy their DVDs, which is fine. But I recently saw their one on card springs. Now, I've always done my card springs from the corners, like this, which isn't too bad because I've only recently started trying to do them again. And this is where I've discovered by accident how important how dry your hands were. I was trying them at work, and the heart cards were just going everywhere, off my tops of my fingers, off my thumb, everywhere. And for some reason, I wear when I'm at work sometimes I'll wear surgical gloves, and I just started messing with cards with my gloves on just for I don't know why, and the control that I got, because they're obviously surgical gloves, they've got a lot more grip than your fingers. I couldn't believe how much difference. So then I thought, well, actually, let's try some of this sort quick, and I found I could do dribbles with a lot more control. And you can dribble just cards almost one by one. I still struggle towards the last few cards here. That's sort of where I really get stuck, and they normally come off into the 3s and 4s. But I discovered my dribbles were a lot better if I've got a slightly sticky thumb. Preferably only use saw quick, guys. Don't put other sticky substances on there which you can transfer into your cards. I think you know what I mean. And then card springs, I was dumbfounded how much more control I had with the card spring. Now I've long maintained that you cannot do card springs without damaging the cards, and that's because obviously when you first start, your hands are like this, and it doesn't matter what the people teaching you say. Very simply put, when you're good at something, you forget how difficult it was right at the beginning, and what might seem natural to you isn't natural to beginners, which is another reason why I'm doing this. Now, I was really trying pushing the cards, and my cards were bending like this, and I was thinking I don't want to be bending my cards. But over a while, what will happen is your fingers will actually, and the muscles in your fingers, or the tendons, will actually start to get a little bit stronger, and it could take 3 or 4 months or more. But what will happen is you'll actually start to get more of a feel for the card, but you'll have a lot more control from your fingertips, so you're not kind of trying to do this, or I was, when I'm trying to spring cards. Because I'd be looking at these guys, and my decks would end up like this after I tried to spring a card, like that, and I'm bending them back and I'm thinking this can't be good for the cards. So it's all about experience, guys. Work up on getting your fingers a bit stronger. The plastic cards are great for that because they're a lot stiffer, so you know that isn't a very good spring, and I'm doing exactly the same technique with the corners, thumb and finger on the corners and the other two fingers there, but because they're a bit stiffer it puts a lot more strain around here on your hand. When you come to do these cards, you'll find you don't need to use anywhere near as much force, but you've got the extra power there if you need it. So one good tip, and you can see I can almost spring them off one by one. Now 2 weeks ago this was happening, but a combination of just practicing more and more and more, particularly over the last couple of weeks, and a combination of putting something on your hands, hasn't got to be this, but putting something on your hands just to get a little bit more clamminess on your hands really helps. If you're lucky and you've got clammy-ish, you know, soft skin, brilliant. But I think it's something that's not talked about as much as it could be talked about. So card dribbles are okay. That would then lead on to trying to do the baby anaconda. I'm still only just really trying to get into that. Watched a couple of videos again. The Russain Genius does one. He recommends doing it over your bed or your couch, which I would recommend as well. But so this isn't a teaching video. This is just trying to see me or get me a bit better. And then the Dan and Dave video, which I watched on the card springs, coming to the end of the video now, guys. Don't fall asleep. They're doing them from here. Now I've never done them from there because here is a lot easier. See, I mean, they're kind of in clumps, but they're individual in those clumps. I could never do this one, but the Dan and Dave video I saw, very informative. Oops. But as you can see, I've only just recently started doing this a couple of days ago. They're still not really coming off in ones, but that video, card springs, on the Dan and Dave website, Dan and Dave YouTube channel, fantastic. They cover the thumb, coming off the thumb. They also cover coming off the fingers, which is I'm not even going to try and catch these, which is a lot more difficult, or I think it is. But you do need that as a prerequisite for other things like is it the pressure fan or the riffle fan or something like that. But guys, the key thing is practice. Nobody wants to practice the same thing over and over again, unless you're very lucky and you can pick things up like that. I can't. You will have to practice over and over again to get better. But once you start getting to that point, you go, hey, that worked, and you can do it again and again and again. The feeling of satisfaction, guys, well, for me anyway, was brilliant. So, quick rundown again on those. Hand dryness, vitally important. Don't let your hands be too dry if you're going to be using cards, because you won't have the control that you need, especially when you're trying to do various things. I'm not going to try and do, I mean, stuff like this, you can, you know, it's okay. But there's one cut, that one, and then trying to pull that card out with dry hands is virtually impossible. And I was doing it for ages, thinking, well, why aren't my fingers contacting this card? And it's because my fingers were too dry and they would just be sliding off. So hand dryness, guys, look for the resources. As I say, 52 cards, probably one of the best resources for learning the handling of cards. I'll try and put some of the people in the description. And that's it for today, really. Next video will be me hopefully showing a slight improvement on my card springs, particularly this one, and ideally trying to catch the cards as well. That's it for now, guys. Whether it's been of some use to you or not, I don't know. Whether it's been of some use to me, well, we'll have to wait and see in the next week's instalment. Watch how you go, fellas.